What the fuck are they on about? Lisa, evening. Khan, how we doing, mate? David, Steve, Debs, Mark. Yeah, I was just going through some comments on one of the videos, Mark. Texas, how we doing? It's not far off, Texas. It's not far off bedtime, buddy. Owl, how we doing? Dexter, how's the things? Yeah, the dumper's going well, really. Well, for a fucking dumper. Robert, no, we're just basically the weather's a bit dry. We just put some last minute seed down on some stuff we actually drilled last year. So we just want to sort of thicken it up a bit now. Now it's established very quickly. Kelly, how we doing? David, what are you on here now as the ginger genius? Matthew, Rob, Law, AT, how we doing? Buck and Billy. Hello, old boy. That's wonderful to have you on here. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Buck and Billy Ray Smith on here. It's always nice to have you on here. That's bloody lovely. How are we doing? Kieran from Kentucky. No, we're gonna get the names right. We got Kelly's right. How do you pronounce your name? Is it Kieran, Ciaran, or is it some other pronunciation? I always like to get them right. Urban, how we doing, buddy? Yeah, I see Matt's video on his house is coming on really well. Ash, how we doing? Tony, I am, mate. I'm knackered. Jack Pine, how we doing, bud? From Minnesota. Yeah, got away here yesterday at 5 in the morning and got back up past 10 due to the Dartford tunnel. One of them had a diesel spill and they closed one of the tunnels. So that side of London was completely fucking gridlocked. And we spent 2.5 hours doing 5 mile to get to the tunnel. Steve, how we doing? Andy, Kermit, Max, hey mate. Mark, how's things? Ginger Genius says, because I changed my handle to the one on Instagram and Facebook. Keep it consistent. Thank you, David. Andrew, love the dog, you little sod. Tubby, how's things, mate? What are you up to at the moment? Jim, how's things? Johnny, Mark, have I been to Diddley Squat? No, I haven't actually. I couldn't do with I couldn't cope with the crowds and everything, just whatever. And I think it's brilliant what he does there, absolutely brilliant. But it's not really for me. I'll go one day. I'll be passing and go. Fuck, I'm going to go in there. Tony, looking forward to having my knowledge and horizons expanded tonight. You'd be lucky if you get your arse expanded as well. Barry, yes, mate. I'm doing it tonight. I got back late last night, as I said, like 10:30. I was 9:30, 9:45, I think it was. Time I got sorted here, it was like 11 o'clock. It's like I'm fucking bed. Michael, dry hair this week, muck shifting. Happy camp. Michael, where are you? Let us know. 10 mil, big up Algeria. Zamara, hi everyone. Can I ask a question about Class 2 lorry? Can you still rent one with an analog tacho? No, I think they're all digital now. Lee, how we doing? Stephen from Leyston says hello. So Kieran is Kieran. Kieran would be best, but since I moved here, I'll answer anything. And it's a Kieran. Oh, Buck, and honestly, mate, you don't have to do that. But I appreciate it, and you know I do. That goes to the dogs. I just said it's no, I really appreciate that, bud. And it's lovely to have you on here. More than anything, the value is having you on here, which is really nice. Like Quaker said, get Zamara, just get a digicard. Done then, isn't it? Robbie, how we doing? We'll just wait a little bit. So one or two more I know want to come on here. But Buchan, love you back, buddy. Really do. Next year, Buchan, we're gonna have to meet up. We're gonna have to do that, and that's one of those things, isn't it? It's been too long. It's been too long. We need to do it. Ken, how are we doing? You're never too busy just to drop in and drop out, Ken, and you know that. You know that. But I appreciate all of you anyway. But those of you that, as I said, are generous enough to give whatever you give, it goes to the dogs. And as I said, despite what YouTube take, what you give, I will make sure they get. And then I say, if you're not from the UK, we've got a thing called Gift Aid. It's a government thing, and if you are a UK taxpayer, you can say, yes, I want a gift aid, and the government give 25% on top of whatever you give. So that's awesome. No, I appreciate it, Buck. Oh, man, honestly. Right, so just so you know, so if any of you don't know, Buck and Billy is somebody that basically you, me, and Logger Wade were at the same sort of time, different size channels, but we were all pushing and growing at the same time, weren't we, on YouTube? But we had this thing where we would help each other. And so, like, I've got you guys, Buchan's got what is Buchan Army. And those guys, honestly, they will help each other and whatever in times of need. And when somebody's got an issue, they will just jump to their help, and they'll either answer a question or help them out sometimes financially, and that, just to get them going again. Just give them again. It's not a case of like, here's $1,000. That's nothing like that. It's like, here's $5. You've had an accident or whatever. You're out of work. Things aren't. What are you waiting for that payment? What people do. It's what we all do, isn't it? Well, Buck, and he taught me that, so that's what we do. So you taught me well, Buckman, and you know that. So yeah, this is the nice thing. This is where we're at now because of people like you and whatever, and Wade, and and there's some. Cheers, David. Thank you very much for more Hound Cherries book. Good old boy. Appreciate that. Thank you, mate. That's the nice thing. There's channels out there that are fucking massive, and they got merch, and they got this, that, and the other, and they got these followers, but they haven't got you guys, and they haven't got like Buchan's Army and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? People that, if you genuinely, right, if you were out on the road and you're stuck and you just like, I know I'm not far from Buchan or whatever, and I broke down, man, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Could you come? And if he's not there, somebody else is, and they'll come and help you. That's what it's all about. And that's a proper channel. That's a proper channel. So lovely. Joseph says, finished up high moisture corn in Pennsylvania. Yeah. They're on soybeans now. Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys. Michael, you're Wexford, Southeast Ireland. No doubt the rain will be here by the weekend, but happy to push on for the week. Well, there you go. There you go. Anyway, so we'll just give it a couple of minutes because I was see if Frank was on, but regardless, anyway, but we've got there was a low dodger on. Anyway, that's right. That's fine. Let's do it. Okay, so we were talking the other night about people always ask, "Oh, Mucky, you're a pilot. How did you get into flying?" So, like I said, we'll go back before that. My grandfather was a soldier, Royal Engineer in World War II. Um, and oh, I am Lee. I am thirsty, mate. Got fucking right dry. Mark, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that. Very kind of you, buddy. So, grandfather came up through Italy and that with the Eighth Army, and ended up in Austria in Graz. Pete, Lynn, how we doing? So, funnily enough, it's only again you find out years later where Grandad ended up. He was ended up with a load of American paratroops. The British Army and the Americans were Kiwi. How he turned, bud, straight in there. Good, I appreciate it, boy. Thank you so much, Stephen from Felixstowe. It's got to go. It's driving home. Will you drive steady, old partner? Stephen, how we doing? So, yeah. Well, it turns out literally where grandfather was is where 506 were, Band of Brothers, as we know them now, exactly where they were, knocking around in the same town. It's incredible. But you find this out, years. So, Paul, how we doing? Anyway, Grandad comes home. Now, Grandad, just Grandad wanted to join Bomber Command when World War II sort of broke out. I think it was about 1942, 43. He went to join. That was his first thing he wanted to do, fly bombers. By that time, because don't forget, pilots, it could take up to 2 years to train pilots, and they were going to Canada and America, where it's obviously safer, better weather, so you can train them continuously. And they said, look, at the time, we just got so many that have applied, and there's not much room. So he said, okay, bugger, I'll join the paratroopers, become a paratrooper. It's a new sort of thing. And so he was accepted in like 6th Airborne or whatever it was, or whatever. He was accepted to do the training. And a load of the guys there, they did their basic combat training. And then they said then they'll go on to the advanced stuff and the parachute training itself. They all got on the truck. When I said we got on the truck to go, and they suddenly said, right, you, and you off. And he was one of them. So they said, oh, all right. And then on another truck, you and you off. So he said there was 5 of us stood there. He said in the truck, he said, they'll come and get you later. Go and get yourself a cup of tea. And he said, they basically, this is obviously, I think it's about 43, this was, they went to do their training. Somebody else has dropped in there. I'll have a look in a minute. Anyway, so they all stood around, whatever. 2 days later, this had been collected. They said, look, there's not enough places in the billet at the moment for you guys. So you have to. Weeks went by. He said, like 2 or 3 weeks, and we're still there. And somebody came up to him and said, oh, yeah, your father was in the Royal Engineers in the First World War. He went, yeah. What? Well, do you want to join the Royal Engineers? He went, no, I want to join become a parachute. Trained to do, parachute stuff, become a para. And they were like, yeah, all right, well, you sure? Anyway, a month went by. One of the guys went, 4 of them were left, and they were just doing, he said, cleaning duties and this, that, and the other, and kicking the feet, he said, a lot of the time. And eventually they said to him, look, if you join the Royal Engineers, and this is the way things used to work. I still do, I think, to a degree. But if you had relatives that are in a regiment, the regiment always liked you to stay with that regiment. If you know what I mean, like your father was in it, your grandfather was in it, and this, that, and the other. And they said, well, join the Royal Engineers, because obviously we've got airborne engineers. And you can go, fuck it, you do that. As it happened, he never got in the parachute training course, then went on that. He went in the Royal Engineers. And because they knew he could drive this, that, and the other. Thank you, Robbie. Good old boy. Because I'll go for the college, Robbie. Thank you very much. Keep them fed and bed. Gordon, how we doing? Davey, don't worry, mate. You're here now. Yeah, and that was it. And he went in the Royal Engineers, and he went. But the point is, he said the majority of the guys he remembers he was training with doing his basic, a lot of them got killed and captured at Arnhem. So, you know, anyway, Royal Engineers as a driver, and he was driving Scammells, Diamond T's. So what he used to do, this is right. So coming up through Italy, you've got Americans and you've got the British, and they would get seconded to wherever and whoever along the route. So they're coming up through their foot. So they'd come to a town in the mountains in Italy, and they would pull up and pull over with like the Diamond T's or the Scammells, whatever they had. They went from Scammells to Diamond T's, tank transporters, and they had the Rogers trailers, and they had international, I think TD18 dozers or whatever, and Cat D7s and whatever. And the Americans or the British, whoever, would come past them and with their artillery, and they would set up and they would just bombard the fucking towns, like level them with the Germans in them. And the bombers would be coming over and bombing them and this, that, and the other. And then they'd pack up the guns, pull out the side, and all the troops would come through and go in and literally, hand to hand and whatever, and fight the way and clear the town of the Germans. Then they would scramble out of the rubble and park up, and Grandad's lot would be unloaded with the dozers, and they used to go in and push the roads clear of all the rubble and stuff, and anywhere it blocked the roads, they would get through the town, pull over, load up, bang, the artillery would come through, the troops would come through, they'd go to the next one. And that's what they used to piggyback all the way up through Italy like that, just literally bombing, clearing, and then opening the roads up. They'd pull over, they'd go through, and that's what they did. So that was what Grandad did. Anyway, got to Austria in the end. And when he came home, one of the first jobs he had was at the farm up the road, and he was driving for a farm there, because they had the farm here, and but there wasn't enough to keep the families all fed. You got to remember, farms back in them days weren't like several thousand acres as a rule, apart from big estates. So he used to do the stuff here, do all the pigs and everything here, and whatever else he needed to do, and then he'd go ploughing for them. And he had McCormick WD9. He had that big tractor for the day. Big, still a big tractor now, actually. You'd start them on. I think would you start them on? Did you start them on petrol, didn't you, or something? And then, or petrol or power? Who start them on paraffin? I think you start on paraffin. So anyway, not like a petrol paraffin, but you'd start them on running on that, and you'd switch them over onto, when they're hot enough, onto diesel. So anyway, that was that. But all his friends that were coming back, and were local, a lot of them were pilots by that time, and they'd flown in World War II and this, that, and the other. What's that? Just got on it. How we doing, James? Andrew says my granddad was with the Norfolks in Italy. They got moved back to take part in D-Day. Yeah, well, the granddad was in 46th Division, 8th Army. So yeah, they basically, that's what Jim says. You start them on petrol and run them on diesel. Mag on one side, injection pump. That's right, Jim. Yeah. So that's what the WD was. They had a W9, which was straight petrol, wasn't it, Jim? W9, and the WD was, yeah. So anyway, so he's with his friends and whatever. Still had a passion for flying. And so there's airfields everywhere. You can imagine, can't you? The Americans by this time have gone home. The majority of them. There's still a lot of bases. I mean, now there's American bases here, but the majority had gone home. Bomber Command, the majority of the bases had been closed. And so one of the local bases was Swanton Morley. And yeah, there was a flying club there. They had tiger moths and stuff like that. And that's what Granddad started, sort of flying, stuff like that. And then later on you'd be talking now, 50s and 60s, he started flying the Aerospatiale or Staccato Raleigh. Lovely aircraft, absolutely lovely, sort of short field takeoff. And the French, and I think the Dutch, used them as a military aircraft for getting in and out of short field takeoff areas, and get sort of 3, 4 blokes in. Anyway, that was that. Like I said the other night, the people he was flying with were, you know, again, I jump another, I suppose, 10 years or so forward into the 70s. I'm a kid. Battle of Britain pilots, Bomber Command pilots are in their 40s and 50s, the same. Still relatively young, do you know what I mean? And they were everywhere, but they weren't they? You think now they are in, well, they're in their hundreds now. As I said, a friend of mine, John McGrory, passed away earlier this year, 102. He was at the end of World War II in Bomber Command. So he was a youngster. Anyway, so I'm immersed and surrounded by not just RAF pilots. I'm surrounded by soldiers and stuff. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Granddad used to say, was a kid, used to jump in his bed in the morning, and Nanny would bring us a cup of tea, and then he'd sit and tell me stories of, and that's where I'm so lucky, because a lot of people didn't talk about it, but a lot of people did, and I heard all these stories, firsthand and what they did in Italy, and I'm able now to think about it still, tell others. And where a lot of people are like, oh, it's only when dad or granddad died, we found this box and that was full of medals and this, that, and the other. We never even knew he was in the army. It's stuff like that. That's really sad. So I know a lot about what went on. And it was the same with granddad's friends, people of his age. They would come round and whatever. And don't forget, these aren't like, oh, here comes ex-Air Force captains. There wasn't that. It was, here's his friend Bill, who runs the local garage, or here's his mate Pete, who runs a transport company. That's who they were, because they did have a life after World War II. So you thought nothing of it. But occasionally there was like, that was, we remember that. That was that night, blah, blah, blah. And, and these aircraft came, and you heard all these stories. And I'm fascinated by it. But anyway, so after World War II, Granddad got his pilot's license, and he was a very good pilot. In fact, he won a few awards they do competitions, cross countries and stuff like this. And Granddad was often, as I said, I might do a video for the Patreons later on this year. So I've got some nice photos I'll keep for that. But I got a photo of him with his cup and whatever, this trophy and whatever, and he'd won, and so he was very, very good pilot, just a natural pilot. Is very good. So then there's the question of, when did I get into flying? Like I said the other night, there's a picture again, which I'll keep for the video probably, of me like wrapped up in a shawl, sat on my mum's lap in the aircraft beside Granddad, and I was like 6 months old. There'll be some of you on here will just be like smiling, and there'll be others on here, like youngsters, that'll be go, you what? Oh yeah, it was different times. You know what I mean? It was just like, you get your small infant child and stick them on your lap. You're strapped in, so you can hold on to him. But it's like somebody mentioned on, I think it was Facebook or something today, if you in a car when you didn't used to have seat belts, if the strength of your mother's arm holding you back in the seat wasn't enough, you deserve to go through the windshield. Is that sort of thing. So let me just quickly read through some of these. So Lee says, didn't find out until we came back from Italy that the Mrs. Uncle was an Italian partisan, blowing up German railroads. Exactly. Kiwi says, my granddads were powered, one in the coal at Denniston, the other to build airport in Fiji. There's a lot of other things like that. There was, the work that the miners and all that were doing throughout the war to keep everything rolling. How are we doing, Ian? Good old boy. Auto Barnsley says Swanton Morley, the hospital. No, the aerodrome. Must be a hospital there, though, isn't there? I assume there's a hospital. I think the army are there now, or the bloody. They had CVRTs there for a long time. I don't know who's there, if it's active anymore. But it was when I was a youngster, Swanton Morley was still an RAF aerodrome. So Ian says grandfather was in the Royal Engineers. Some of his work was to blow up bridges. Got some maps on wax paper. He never talked about it. That's right. Some did, some didn't. Simon says, think you should get old George Saunders Russian crawler in to sort out the steering as a pile of rust before you get that thing can get fucking flooded as far as I'm concerned. I've done my stuff at Ballara's crawlers. I got mine running. How we doing, Mark? John, how we doing? How's things? Wes says we never had seatbelts. We didn't, do we, Wes? You know what I mean? Stephen from Beckles says, my dad saw the Joseph did he really? Yeah, now I'll have to dig out again a bit more about that, but Kennedy was working on something, wasn't he, with that? I can't remember the name of the operation. It was a specialist thing. They were basically having a bomber and another bomber full of Torpex, wasn't it? I think basically just an aircraft full of explosives, and they would fly another bomber beside it. And they would, I think that was the one Kennedy was involved in, isn't it, Stephen? And they would basically have radio control and take it to the target, but something went wrong. And yeah, that was young Kennedy, wasn't it? That's right. How we doing, Paul? RAF Hospital at Swanton Morley. Yeah, they'd have an RAF hospital there anyway, Barnstormer. They definitely have one there. Your dad, squadron lead from Marham, had not. What squadron was he on at Marham? 57? How we doing, Daniel? So David says Obertson's Barracks, formerly RF Swanton Morley, is a military installation and it is designed the Queen's Dragoon Guards. That's right, yes. Set to close in 2029. So yeah, there you go. So it's now a fucking hospital or whatever. But when I was a kid, it was fully operational with all sorts being there, and stuff that used to come in. It was quite strange. They used to do a lot of really interesting stuff there. Jack Pine says, my grandfather was in Hiroshima and Nagasaki after they dropped the bomb. He didn't talk much about it before. It was pretty gruesome. Yeah, a lot of them, they took them out there, didn't they? After the war, they did a tour thing for the guys out in the Pacific. Like, do you want to come see Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Like, this fucking place is glowing. They come and have a look. A lot of them did. Yeah, Robertson Barracks. Popco, how we doing? Rusty, how we getting on? Kermit says, my grandfather's both barely too young to get conscripted, but put in the Volkstrom. As far as I know, both talk quite sober about the war being on the east. That must have been awful on the Eastern Front. 57 Squadron. See, I can remember that. I can remember as well outside the hangar 57s, the big statue, that big blue hand with the spear. Remember that there at Marham? How we doing, Cody? So yeah, anyway, Rusty. So there we go. That was so he got his license and everything. And I'm immersed in all these people. And it was just I don't know how to explain it. It just is what happened. So, as I said to you the other night, we used to go to Swanton Morley on a Saturday, and Granddad said, and this is when I'm a bit older, you come go over to Swanton, we go flying this afternoon or something like that. Or I'd say I was over there with Mum when I was really young. Or we'd just go over, as you do. And I got into doing this is in my later years, when I, started with my mate Brock. We would go to the airfield, even when the weather was shit, and we'd sit there, a massive, big static caravan there as like a clubhouse sort of thing. And we'd put the heater on and go and get bacon and roll. We'd do bacon sarnies as the weather's, but you ain't flying anywhere. But a Saturday, you go down the airfield. Do you know what I mean? That's what you did. and at Strubby in Lincolnshire. And we would sit there, me and him and Nicholas and Pete, and people would just drop in there. We had bacon and endless cups of tea. And Nicholas's mum would come over because they live literally on part of the old aerodrome there. And she'd come, she'd bake us a chocolate, the best chocolate cakes ever. But we just sit there and just talk about flying. Do you know what I mean? It's just, or anything else. But, you know, anyway, that's you know, looking back at it now, is exactly what I did. So, and yeah, so that was it. And then with other people, we would go flying. As I'm getting older, we would go flying, and you know, as I told you the other night, the story about Neil Williams and that coming in there, and you get all sorts of aircraft coming in. Really strange, but say the Spitfire, and Neil would come in. He came in and just plonked me in as a kid, and just don't touch that, don't touch that. And they would stand there having a cup of tea, and this little kid, you know, it just wouldn't happen now. The health and safety, and it's just not the culture we have now. People don't do that. At the end of this video, because I'll keep this one live for a while. I'll put a link to a YouTube video of Neil. So it had been before 77, because Neil was killed in 77. So it was been before that. And the BBC filmed it. I think it must have been early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, colour of Neil flying a Spitfire. Well, it's 434, as I remember. And it's one of the, I just love, sometimes I'm just sitting, if I'm just waiting for something, I'll just put it on and watch it. To see him going around, to see, you know. Now, here's another one. So, Just Jane, the Lancaster, just a quick one about it. So, Just Jane, the Lancaster, which is at East Kirkby, and they're going to get it flying and whatever. Well, that, before the deal was, before the Panton brothers could actually have it at East Kirkby, it had to do gate guardian duties at Scampton, and it was there for years. Before that, it was up at Blackpool Airport. It was going to be part of some big exhibit there. Anyway, the last time it actually flew was from Lavenham in Suffolk. It was there, and they got it to flying condition. And I mean, just about. And Neil flew it. Neil Williams was the last one to fly it. So anyway, again, but the whole thing I keep saying about, you know, Neil Williams and this and that, and a lot of you won't even know who Neil Williams was. If any of you into reading still, if any of you can fucking read still, it's a lost art. Buy a book called Airborne by Neil Williams. And so Neil flew the film, The Magnificent Men in the Flying Machines, Neil flew in that. When somebody wanted something moved, or Neil would fly it. And he was a test pilot, which is what Neil was. But there's an incredible story. This is one of those ones you're like, nah, it wouldn't be true. But it is, because everyone saw it. And Neil used to do a lot of aerobatic competitions, you know, world-class stuff, went to Russia and places like to compete. And he flew a Zlin, is what the aircraft he had, one of his best aircraft. So a normal monoplane, single wing. Anyway, Neil's doing a maneuver one day and heard a bang and then a crump. And the next thing he knew, he could see the wing coming up. And one of the main bolts had broken and the bottom of the wing had torn. It was coming up because he's like trying to fight it. And in a split second, Neil thought, well, if the wing's detaching at the bottom and it's going to tear off and fold up, the best way to counter that, you think his head is doing it in seconds, is to put pressure on the upside, which is all right still. So he just flipped her upside down. So then all the pressure's on, and it basically put the wing back down, but he's inverted now. And he brought it all the way in, told them what was happening, and at the last minute, flipped it the right way down, and the wing, and he I think he just crash landed it. I think it came in on its belly. But to think, and this isn't one of those, yeah, all right, read it. Go on Wikipedia about it, actually. Just Google Neil Williams pilot, and you'll find out a lot about him. And you'll probably be so impressed you'll order the book on Amazon. Seriously. But anyway, that's who Neil was. But there's this wonderful, as I said, bit of footage on YouTube about Neil. and it's just one of the nicest bits. I mean, there's obviously sound. The BBC have put sound, the BBC production put sound, but the way Neil is so gracefully flying this spit, and if any of you have flown anything like that, you can see to keep up with the camera aircraft, which obviously is like flat out flying like fuck, try to film it, and the spit, he's got it trimmed right back like that. And she's sitting, she's just flying like, oh, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and that's who he was. But he died when I think I was about 4 or 5. And in that short time, he made a massive impression on me. And I don't know, I suppose it was that and being immersed in everything like that and always going to air shows. But right, so as a boy, a young boy, I've got models everywhere. And, you know, and you're playing, and you're hearing these stories. And I just want to fly a Spitfire, a Hurricane, a Mustang, a Lancaster, something like that. I want to fly these, but I'm never going to, because they're flown by the gods. They're flown by the elite. And to some degree, they still are to this day. They really are. But the point is, that time had gone. We're now in the jet age. You know, I'm looking at fucking Lightnings, Hunters, and stuff like when I was a kid. Jaguars and stuff like that. So that's never going to happen. But you're still, that's where your head is. That's what, you know. So anyway, like I said, life goes on. And then with, you know, I get older. We're still flying a bit here, there, and everywhere. And then in the late 80s, mid 80s. So yeah, that would have been the mid 80s, because Granddad didn't fly for about the last 4 or 5 years. Because work and everything else. But so you can see that. That's at Tibbenham. And that's me and Grandad, the last time we flew together. And if any of you know Dis at all on the Norfolk-Suffolk border, there's I don't know what it is now, but there used to be a Shell station right in Dis near the railway bridge, owned by the Kitchen brothers. And that was, I think it was Derek Kitchen's aircraft. And we went flying, as I said. That was the last time me and Grandad flew together. And that's on an old US Air Force, World War II US Air Force bomber base, B-24 base, I believe. Tony says, Airborne, $5.99, Amazon Kindle. Tony, buy it. It'll be the best £6 you've ever spent. Let's just do a few of these quickly. Oh, that's right. Yes, 55 was the Spear, was 55 squad. 57 was the Phoenix. So 55 hangar, that was the one in the middle, wasn't it? They did two, there was 3, obviously. It was 1, 2, and 3, wasn't it? That was the one with the Spear was in the middle, wasn't it? As I remember, I think. Yeah, there's the middle one. Long time ago now, isn't it? It was the last time operationally I saw the Vulcan fly. We went down to Marham to watch it when it came over Marham. John says, my father was in the Navy and he was anti-aircraft gunner on D-Day. Never spoke about it. Never collected his medals. Cody, says, can't wait for Patreon Day. We're talking about today. Have you emailed in, Cody? Anybody that's coming to our Patreon Classic Tractor Working Day this Saturday, the 26th, you have to email in. Even if you've given me a message and Messenger and Instagram, whatever, before, just to give us an idea, you now have to actually basically register to come. So that's just quickly, info@lord-muck.com. All right, so you've got to email info@lord-muck.com. Tell us you're coming, or you're coming and somebody else, or several of you, whatever, but we need numbers for Saturday. All right, so if you haven't emailed that, if you can get it done tonight, please, after this, to give us an idea of numbers. But yes, Cody, it's going to be bloody good. Jack Pine says grandfather was there and they were destroying the remaining land markings. Bloody hell. Autobahn said, have we not met? Strubby was a satellite for Manby. It was, mate. Yes, it was. So Manby's now, the control tower is still there. Manby is like, most of it's owned by the council, isn't it? Lincolnshire County Council. And so Strubby's now. So we were on the, where it's the drainage board are now, which was Bristow or Bond helicopters over the far side. The hangar is over the other side of the aerodrome near the garden centre. And we were this end of Strubby Village end. Gov Tom, how we doing? William, how he's going, mate? Cluggers, you got a second lathe now. Bloody hell. Max said your dad served the US Navy, battleship Fulham. Never talked about the end of his life till the end of his life. Mad. How we doing, Alex? It's good to have you on here. How we doing, Jonathan? Yeah, not a bad start, really, mate. Apart from just fucking mega long hours. Stephen from Leyston. Operation Alpid, wasn't it Aphrodite? Wasn't it Aphrodite? I think. Mitch, my stepfather was in. Let's get this right. Was in 101st 101 Squadron, flight engineer. Well, they were at Ludford Magna, weren't they? So Ludford was it. The squadron that I sort of look after and represent is 625, which up at Kelston, and Ludford are just literally the other side of the valley. They were there. So yeah. How you doing, Jonathan? Jack Pine says, previously owned my drag lines were pilots. Yeah, you said the other day, yeah. It's mad, isn't it? There's still a Shell garage, is it, David? Kitchen Brothers? Yeah. 55 was in the middle. That's the one, yeah. 57 was on the left towards the golf course, 214 to span about 77. And 100 Canberras were on the other side of the airfield. Well, my Uncle Jack was chief tech on 100 Squadron, Canberras, when they were at Whiten, Cambridgeshire. Or Whitten, as we used to call it, but Whiten, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was on 100 Squadron then, because we went there. Again, there's another things you do as a kid. Do you want to come up to the airfield this weekend? Yes, Uncle Jack. In you get. Or there with me. Oh, no worries, sir. In you come. A lot different now. Tony said, you've cost me money, Mucker. Just bought Neil's book. Mate, if you don't read that and enjoy it and are like totally blown away, I'll fucking pay for it for you. Kelly says, lovely to hear some of the good stories. Got to hear them born in the wrong time. Well, that's how it happens. Stephen from Thickthorn Roundabout. Have you got my email? I haven't, Stephen, not yet. Let me just have a look. This is live, folks. Have we got Stephen from Thickthorn Roundabout? I've got Tony's. Tony's coming. We know that. Tony's in he's emailed me now twice. But not yet, Stephen. But I'll have a look. That's fine. Clucker says, newest one is a little younger than my other, but not by much. My great-grandfather's a dam buster. Unfortunately, he was shot down. Who was that then, Gov? Tom, who was your great-grandfather? Was he on 617 or was he actually a dam buster? Actually on the raid? Alex says, pretty good. Beautiful weather, Nova Scotia. Busy spreading shit. Good old boy, Alex. Kiwi says, just bought the Popeye book for you, Kurt. Send me your Addy and we'll post it for you when I get it. I will do, mate. Get off there. We'll do that. Mitch says, I used to ride at Manby Showground competing in Enduro. That's right. I used to have to do racing there, didn't they? Yes, right. Kirk, how we doing? So, anyway, where were we? We got to the point where, yeah. So, I carried on flying, as I said, but Granddad died. I was 19. I didn't fly for a couple of years, and then mate of mine said, "Do you want to come flying?" And that, and I'm like, "Yeah, go on." So we started flying again. Try to think what I flew. Tiger Moth. Yeah, I think it was a Tiger Moth. So I flew in the Tiger Moth, and yeah, the years just went by, and it was friends and whatever I just flew with. Never flew in the Cessna up to this point. Everybody flies a Cessna, not me. So Cherokees, Warriors, stuff like that, Tampicos, Tobagos, Osters, Tiger Moths, and whatever. And as I said, I got fairly proficient with it. So the point I could take off, I could land. The only thing I couldn't do legally was actually fly an aircraft on my own. I couldn't hire or anything like that. I couldn't hire an aircraft because I'd had to have another pilot, which never really bothered me because I never really want to go anywhere on my own anyway. I'm just not that sort. I've flown on my own, obviously, but I enjoy when somebody else is there because later on in my flying journey, I was told by someone very, very clever, if you have a spare seat, make sure that you fill that with somebody that you can give the experience of flight to, or someone that can give you experience and knowledge, to you. So somebody that's done a lot more than you can teach you something, or somebody that's never flown or flown very little, and you can give them that experience. That's what I was always told. It's very, very good. Let's quickly write through this. Grandfather stepped off Ellis Island on a battleship to fight in World War One or Two, and that is how he got his citizenship. Ah, I see. For World War One, I see. Clucker said it's a Pearls 4-inch special made in the 30s. I sent you an image on Facebook. Okay, will do. Jim said, my family are all on farms who escaped World War II service, but Grandpa, age 95, remembers his uncles that did World War One service. Yeah, and they got sniped on Armistice Day regarding Archangel in Russia. Tom says he was a dam bus. Well, it's obviously, so he was a dam bus, but if he wasn't on the actual dam's raid, what I'm assuming is he was on 617 Squadron then. Yeah. Right, he says, if anyone's interested, there's a guy who does live stream from RAF Coningsby, Marham, Brize, Norton, Lossiemouth. What's he called, Righty? What's he called? Is it Ted Coningsby is his name? Fucking Wes and his chemtrails. Thank you, Barnstorm. All the best, mate. Look after yourself. Look after yourself. That's nice to know somebody that can remember Marham. I was Ted Coningsby. Okay. So anyway, so then we go forward some years. So I'm flying then, obviously less frequently, but I'm still flying and I'm doing stuff and whatever. And then, I don't even know when it was, 2012, 2013, I decided to, and this is where a lot of things suddenly expand very, very quickly. I went to the US, and I'm going to the US. I think we were over there for whatever reason, I can't remember. But and I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? I've fucking worked hard this year. We're doing all right. I can afford it. You would often see these things of these various shows and that, and they tour the US for 6 months of the year. And basically, what it is they'll take old aircraft to like an airport. Like, let's just say today they're at Southend Airport until tomorrow lunchtime. Then they're going to fly to, obviously they're not going to, but Stansted, and they're going to be there until Thursday evening. Then they're going to fly out, and then Friday they'll be fucking, I don't know, Gatwick or whatever. But you could go along and you could look around the aircraft, or if you paid a bit more, a significant amount more, you could get a flight in them. And I'm thinking, well, I'm in the States and I'm looking at where we are, and the tour, one of them, which was the Collins Foundation, looking at where they are, they were on one of the weeks we were there, right near where we were, within a day or so. So I thought, fuck it, me being me, I called them up. Not just I called them up. I'm coming over from England and this, that, and the other. Yeah, that's great. And I'd like to see if I can fly on your. Which one do you want to fly on? I said, well, you've got P-51C, which was Betty Jane at the time. So a Razorback P-51, not a bubble canopy, Razorback, 2-seater. They had the B-17, which was 909, which unfortunately that crashed in 2019. And that sort of really, with COVID then coming on straight after that, it put an end to all the tours and stuff like that. But anyway, and the B-24, well, you know, so where I'm from was B-24s, B-7, this is in World War II, B-17s and P-51s and stuff. And the airfields, a lot of them still here, you know. So they said, which one do you want to fly on? I said, all fucking three. And he was like, I beg your pardon? Because this isn't cheap. As I remember, top of my head, I think back then, and you would think this is fucking a fair while ago now, isn't it? 20, this is like 10, 12 years ago. I think the P-51 was $1,500 for half an hour. Or something like that. And obviously, like, I think 2,900, so basically $3,000 for an hour. B-17 was like $700, and I think the B-24 was like $500, something like that. So it's a fucking chunk of money. But I'm thinking, fuck it, I'm there. Do you know what I mean? So I said all three, and the guy went, "That's mad." And I went, "Well, there we go." He went, "No, we'll if you want to do it, sir, we'll help you do it." Anyway, this guy called Hunter has become good friends since. You know what I mean? And we arranged it anyway. So we were coming there at this time and this day and this, that, and the other. But here's the thing. Obviously, they want to do. Today, we've got the people there. People just walk up and go, "Can I fly in the P-51?" They go, "Yeah, okay, give us an hour and you can come in." But most people will book. So they know, okay, so we're just waiting for a couple of more people for like the B-17. We need like 6, 7 people. Give us another 20 minutes. And if somebody else, we can get a flight on today and whatever. And then they'll say, okay, 2:00, we'll do that, you know. And, the 24's full as well. So 2:30, they'll fly. That's how they do it. They tour the US. So I rock up there and it was Hyannis, which is near Cape Cod on the eastern seaboard. And what do you want to do first? Well, I'd obviously fly the P-51. And again, as the tour goes, it could be a pilot could be on tour for a week, 3 weeks. Some of them would be on tour all the time, just live on the tour for months. But the majority of the P-51, to give people time, they would swap the pilots out every 3, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. And it just happened to be this little guy called Mark Murphy. Now, I knew about Mark Murphy, and I'm thinking, is this the Mark Murphy I've sort of heard about, read about, whatever, and heard other people talking about? And it turned out it was. And I was like, oh, wow, we chat. Oh, you're from England. This is this, that, and the other. And we're just chatting and bullshitting and stuff as you do. Anyway, let's go. Come on. So it jumps in the P-51. So my first time in a P-51 Mustang. I haven't flown a fucking Cessna, don't forget. Everyone's flown a Cessna, not me. But I'm about to go in a P-51. And they said, they'll even let you have a bit of stick time, meaning, you'll be able to hold the stick while he does stuff and this and that. Whatever, just want the experience. So I'm sat in the back. So there's a 2-seat one with dual controls, P-51C. And the next thing is, we'd lined up. And he said, "Are you all ready? You're good?" Yeah, I'm good. And all we had was a Dave Clark headset, a normal headset. Off we go. Now, here it is. Ever since I was that little boy, I'm now behind, like fucking, 6, 8 feet behind a Rolls Royce Merlin or Packard Merlin, This is as good as it gets. I mean, how you hear that sound when the old Spitfires and the Hurricanes and the Mustangs, that lovely sound, don't you? Just awesome. And we start to move, and then he opens the throttle up. And we're cool, we're going, Now, having a Merlin on takeoff power. I got to listen to it, innit? It's got to be gorgeous, isn't it? And you can hear it, you know, feel it and everything, the shake and the smells and everything. And I decided to do that. And it felt like somebody had got this pen and just gone, fuck off, and jammed it straight in my ear. I've never, and I don't forget the stuff I've been around, ships, loading shovels, engines like the size of a house. Nah, fucking hell, man. When that old Merlin opens up, it's not a good time. It's not a good time if you are good. And you think those guys, I mean, don't get me wrong, once you're up and you pull it back and you change the pitch on the propeller, it's not as bad. It's a lot smoother noise and whatever. But those guys were flying for hours at a time with just those chamois donuts inside that leather headset. You know, and we've got noise cancelling headsets. You know, it's just like, you know. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on that progresses. So we go off, we're flying this, that, and the other. And we were flying, because where that is, we were flying over cranberry beds. They're just like water-filled beds where they grow the cranberries and stuff. It's amazing. And so he said, okay, we'll climb. So we climbed up, went up through the cloud. He says, have you done any flying? We chatted on the ground. I said, yeah, I've done a bit now. He said, do you want to have a go? And I said, yeah. He said, your aircraft. So next thing I'm flying this Mustang. And he said, don't be afraid, do what you want. So, you know, leveled her off, a few steep turns and whatever. It's nice. And he said, let's go and have some fun. My aircraft. I said, oh, your aircraft. So I handed it back to him. There were some boats out to sea in the Atlantic. So we fucking just dived down on them. And oh, it's just brilliant. In circle, you can see him waving and everything, this, like that, and the other. And he says, we'll see another one down there. He said, see him. He said, wave to him as you go past. And he knew what he's doing. So I'm like, oh. So I go put my hand up and he just pulled. And then I'm trying. Oh, my arm weighed about 400 ton because of the G. And I'm like that. And I could look up and I could, because obviously where he's sat in the front, there's a small mirror so he could see behind, you know, if there's any aircraft attack, and that's the use of them. But he could see me and I could see him and I could see him and he could see me. And I'm like, fuck. And that became a bit of a regular thing with him and I as the years progressed. But anyway, so we're playing around like, and we took it back up again. Oh, before we took it back up, we went along the coastline. So you got these sand dunes. And he said, right, your aircraft. And we're down, I don't know, I'm going to say a couple 100 feet, but I bet it's lower than that because I can see the sand dunes coming past me like this, doing about 280 like this. And I could just see us getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And I just went, your aircraft. He said, yeah, my. And he just pulled up. We shot up. And he went, right, your aircraft again. And I was just flying. And it just went on and on like this. And we were just chatting, this, that, and the other. And something I didn't really register then, and it was only several years later, and I'll tell you that in a minute, but we went and we're coming back in approach. He called the tower and wherever we went. And I went, you tell me where you are this time next year on the tour, Mark. I said, and I'll come and find you. We'll fly again. And he said, have you got your license? I said, no. I said, never really needed it. He said, I'll tell you what, you get your license. And he said, I'll teach you to fly the Mustang. And I always remember just looking up again at this mirror where he is. And I went, really? And he went, yeah, really. I could tell he was serious. And when somebody offers you something like that, even if you didn't want to do it, you can't refuse them. Not an offer like that. And it could have been anyone. I know as the years went by, I knew a lot of the pilots that went on the tour, and they were good guys and whatever, but it could have been anyone. The difference being of all the guys that go on the tour and used to fly the Mustang and fly the people and whatever, Mark Murphy's probably the only one to have his own P-51 at home. Mark got Never Miss, which is a P-51D. So everything came together. Anyway, we landed. And it was a good time. We're chatting away. He said, right, they're going to start the 17. So do you want to go over there? So I went, and I was speaking to the pilots again. I knew that later on and so we were getting it ready, pulling the blades through, because you have to get radial engines. The oil can go at the bottom cylinder, and obviously like hydrolock. So you just pull the props through. So the pistons all do that, and basically it stops the oil going to one piston. And did that, and then we got in, and yeah, we went for a flight in the B-17. You could go on anywhere crossing it, fucking bomb aimer's position and this, that, and the other. Wonderful thing. But it was then, normally they would fly the 24 at the same time, and they kept making excuses. Just gonna just check a couple of things. We're waiting for some people. People, okay, well, you sort of said about 4 o'clock would be off. Yeah. And they were waiting for me. So as we landed, and then the guy said to me, he said, right, when we land, you're going straight out that back door. And I was like, okay. They said, because the 24 is waiting. And so the door on the back of the fuselage, I'm sitting there as we're landing right near it. And as I landed, opened the door, just bundled out. Guy grabbed me, ran me across the apron, the tarmac. And the B-24 sat there running. So I went underneath from the back and up into the bomb bay, because the B-24 has got like a roller shutter door bomb bay. It goes like that. It doesn't open up like that. The doors go and go up inside like a roller shutter door. So I'm straight up, and as soon as I got straight up, I got straight behind the pilots in I think a radio position. I think it was, and that was it. We're off, and off we went. And so I flew in the 24 as well, which was remarkable. But the time we came back, the sun was setting, it was nearly dark. And the thing that struck me, I stood coming in over the coast. Obviously, it's the Atlantic, but literally over Long Island, over Cape Cod, rather. Coming over Cape Cod, and did I say Hyannis? Yeah, so I might have said Long Island before. No, it's Cape Cod's where Hyannis. Just further down, basically across the water from like Boston, just further up. And the sun's setting, and as I say, it's a late afternoon, and you're just coming across from the sea. We flew out to sea and then come back in. And I'm stood in this waist gunner's position thinking, what do them lads think when they were coming in back over like Yarmouth and Ipswich and places like that, hitting the coast of East Anglia, all shot up, been knocked to shit, shrapnel and stuff, seeing the mates just explode or go down, not open the chutes and stuff like that. And that really got me, really, really got me. But anyway, so that was that. I went home, and just to check for the final time, because I'd got his email, and I emailed Mark and said, I'm going to start my flight training if things. He went, yeah, good, get on with it. So, okay, that's enough. No, so that's where it all started. So, the UK weather. We'll go on to the UK weather in a minute. Let's just get. Patey's brilliant, any Kiwi. Rusty says, I'm working on a TR-86. Surprised it didn't burn, and the main positive was halfway through. And the interesting war story I have is my uncle was never drafted for Vietnam due to heart trouble. He was lucky. Cody says, is the email all capital, lowercase? Just info@Lord Muck. So it's lowercase, but just fucking dirty, but it's lowercase. I just wrote it like that for the fucking partially sighted. There's an interesting flying book release called No Time by Philip Lebrock. All right. Wes, One Only Farmer, says, I've flown a Cessna. Total Nutter says planes have improved massively since World War One, but modern army boots have gone downhill. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? So, Tom Cruise has a P-51. The F-4 Corsair and the P-51 are my favourite World War II aircraft. Like I said the other night, if you were on here, but yeah, I've met Tom and I've worked on both the 51 and the F4. Well, two F4s actually. Tony says, like being on the start line at Santa Pod. No, it's not. Santa, you got to remember, I say, I've been on the start. That noise can dissipate. I'm stuck in a fucking cockpit like this with all that noise coming past you and with you. It's just unbelievable. It's Santa Pod. The difference is Santa Pod goes through you. You feel Santa Pod. You hear a Merlin. That's the difference, I'd say. Everything's good this weekend. Bob, yes, I think we're going to have some aircraft working. Frank, you're on here. Dinner's for you, mate. Neil says, I've been promised a flight in a P-51 at some point. Doesn't have dual controls, but it's just about the experience. It's something I've always wanted to do. You're on a very slippery slope, though, Neil. You've done T6, and you know where you got to go next. You have to do it. You have to have dual controls and then fly it. Not on the Vimto tonight, Tony. No, I run out of Vimto, I think. On the Fanta, 0. It's very, very nice. Right. No Time's about a 15-year-old boy who managed to join the RAF and then served in Malta, Greece, and Egypt, in addition to D-Day. Carjacker, have you ever been to Reno Air Races? No, I haven't. I won't know. Well, it's just gone, but yes. Right. So the flying starts, and this is what it's all about. So here we go. People often go to, I'm going to Florida to get my license. Why are you going to do that? Well, two things. They do intense courses. Why do they do intense courses? Because of blue skies. That's why they sent the RAF pilots there in World War II, because basically in the US, you'll get a longer period of unbroken sunshine and good weather. In the UK, I think it's something like 62%. I think it's something that's over 50% of trainee pilots never actually pass their license. Those that do take up to 3 years because they're on a budget, and it takes you, it's probably more now, but it takes you about 10, 12,000 quid to get your license, just how it is. Probably be a lot more now, probably be fucking nearly 15. But anyway, so you've booked a lesson. When have you booked your lesson? Next Thursday. Right, any of you on here in the UK, can you tell me what the weather? You can even look on your fucking thing. I want any of you to put £1,000 down that the weather forecast has given you today for next Thursday is going to be accurate. Yeah, I don't think it made many takers on that. You know what you do. So you're booking. A lot of people book it like once a month. That's all they can afford. So they go once a month, twice a month if you're really lucky, and you turn up, and it's just pissing down with rain or it's blowing a storm, absolute storm. Thank you, Tony. So they don't fly. Now, here's the other thing, just to let you know. So your basic, you've got you do it in stages. And your stages are, let's say, lesson 1, lesson 2. And you read the book, so it gives you an idea. Lesson 1 is you just go up and just general handling or whatever it is. Let's just say lesson 2 is gentle, gentle turns or whatever. I can't even fucking remember now, but let's say it's gentle. So you can read that week you're in. So gentle, you'll be asked to do that. Place your feet on the rudder and you'll be introduced in a gentle turn. You'll feel the aircraft. There's diagrams, whatever. Oh, great. So, and if you do that, you've done well today. Tick off lesson 2. You've got to go through all these lessons before you get to the point where you go solo. And where you go solo is when you fly on your own for the first time ever. But here's the thing. The minimum amount of hours Solo's not so bad. That's variable. The minimum amount of hours for you to get a pilot's license in the UK, and I think in most places, Europe and the US, is 45 hours. You have to do a minimum of 45 hours flying. So everyone becomes fixated. Like, I've got to do it in 45. Otherwise, they'll think I'm shit. He'll think you're shit. Well, the other people I'll fly with. So yeah, I passed my flying, and yeah, I did it in 45 hours, not 48. Oh, he did it in 48 and whatever, and then he did it. Beg your pardon? What's that about? Oh, I've got to do it for anyway. And I was told by some old boy, get as many hours in as you can. Because when you pass, you're not going to stop flying, are you? Your hours, and that's the best thing. I got my flying license in the minimum amount of hours, 45. And then once you've got it, the next boost and boast that you want, right, from everyone is, yeah, I've done like 400 hours now, mate, and I'm nearly at 1,000 hours. They want to tell you how many hours. It's like, the fuck is that about? What is that about? You know what I mean? So it's just mad. They want to pass in the minimum and then suddenly get the maximum. So what is happening over here, as I said, in the US, you can probably get a license. Fucking hell, if you fly hard enough, within a month, you could get those hours in, and you could pass. Because the weather, you could just fly every day. You're going to fly a day, 3 hours this morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, and it's like Whereas in the UK, I've come for my hours lesson since last month, and it's low cloud and it's very windy. And unfortunately, do you want to book again for next month? Yeah, I'll book again for next month. And that's just how it goes. John, how are we doing from East Tennessee? No, I ain't seen that, Dexter, but I know Mark Evans. No, I haven't seen it. Mark here says 15 hours of circuit bash when I got my license in 2002 due to weather. That's what it is, isn't it, Mark? What it is. Where's Loz? He said, I did it in 45. But that's the whole point. People say they did it in 45. So it's like, and how many hours you got now? That's the thing. And that's when it transforms. I could never see it. If you're in the US, you can do it in 45 easily. Why? Because the weather's there. Just a case of like, I've been banging through these. You're banging through less than 2 and 3, 4 in the morning and 5, 6, 7 in the afternoon. It's like that. So anyway, Mark said, the only downside of learning in the US is that you'll need to do a few hours with an instructor to get in the UK. That's right, because you got the difference in the radio and stuff. But we'll go on to that. But yeah, you're right, Mark. Or the US to the UK, and the UK, US, you've got piggyback, license. Anyway, so I did a bit of research. Where can I go? Because again, I don't want to be driving for fucking 3 hours to get to an airfield for them to go, weather's not good today. Drive 3 hours home, or drive 3 hours to an aerodrome. Do you know what I mean? And you get there, and then you got to do your lesson, but you're already pissed off, you're in traffic, and then you got to drive it. So I found one that was like within probably less than half an hour from where I was. And at this point, I'll try not mention various schools, but the point, what I want to tell you this evening is the state of training in the UK for aviation is fucking shocking. There are more bad schools than there are good ones. But anyway, so I'm determined. Don't forget, I'm not just this. I want to learn to fly. I've got this fucking Mustang waiting for me. That's the drive for me. So anyway, that's that. I'm focused to get this done. So I found this flying school within a reasonable distance, 30 minutes away, and they ran Cessna 152s. It's nice. So I'm going to fly a Cessna. That's good. First time ever flying a Mustang. We can fly a Cessna. And so we got on the instructor. He was all right, very sort of not very chatty sort, but it was fair enough. Just get on with it. And so off we did. Lessons 1, lessons 2, lessons 3, and doing this, that, and the other. Now I'd had done my medical, passed that, and as you go along, you then start studying because you get an examination for each part. So for navigation, airmanship, um, air law, stuff like that. There's all these different. This is about 11 different syllabus you have to think. Now, as I'm flying, I'm trying to learn this to get my exams and stuff. And I'd open the book and I'd read through back to page 30, 34. I've got a job coming on next week. All right. Flying the way. Okay. Where was I in that book? Oh, fuck me. Start again, shall I? Here we go. And I just kept starting and stopping and starting. And I thought, I'm never going to learn this. Never going to learn this. But that was to come. As I thought, let's just get a few lessons in and get this flying thing done first. Then I'll worry about the exams. So anyway, flying away and this, that, and the other. And I was going through it and going through it and going through it. That was okay. Very good. And the thing is, with me, I was sort of whipping through them fairly well. Each lesson was another lesson. There's another lesson. I was in a couple of times then, as we're getting into the winters, I remember, but the couple of times I'd turn up and there'd be a couple of lads that are waiting for their lesson with the other aircraft and which, that, and the other. And they're just sat there all like, what's up? So, 1,500 foot sealant today, bit windy and gusty. So we're meant to be up there practicing stall turns or whatever, or this, that, and the other, steep turns. And I just can't do it because we don't have the thing. We're going home. I'll see you next month. Why is that? Why don't you, I'm like to the instructor, I went, well, why can't we just go up and fly and practice fucking like approaches or something like that? Well, why would you? Your next lesson also needs. So we can do a circuits, can't we? Keep doing circuits, things like that. And he's like, you could. And they're like, why would you waste an hour? You're never going to get it within 45. I'm like, the fuck, why are we 45 hours? I want to learn how to fly properly. You know what I mean? Because I can say do most of it, but you have to sharpen yourself up if you're going to get it on your own. And they were like, oh, well, So they'd go off, and then 2 weeks later they'd rock up again. Oh, yeah, today it's raining and we can't, and it's just like, oh, for fuck. Anyway, so I'd sit in the instructor's like, well, I don't mind. I'm getting paid regardless. He said, let's go then if you want to. And I'd just fucking practice circuits and stuff. And I'd practice coming in crosswind landings and stuff like that. He's like, he's like, okay, well, so I'm still on the same part of the syllabus. Still, I need lesson 7 and lesson 8, but I can't do it because I'm only up to lesson fucking 6. But I've practiced circuits in the wind. I've practiced circuits in bad weather. I've practiced, and it was all that. I just do what we did last time. It's your money. Yeah, it fucking is. Anyway, we got to the point then. I'd done all the fucking things, all the basic flying, and we were doing, this, that, and the other. We were doing. Well, we would land. I was doing the landings and everything, and radio calls and this, that, and the other. Now they reckon between 14 to 17 hours, so you can sort of say 15 hours is an average for somebody to go solo. Apparently now, the RAF like to get it done in like 9-10 hours. Anyway, I've done all the stuff I'm doing, and I'm just then building up on landings and stuff like that. Again, bad weather, go flying, shall we? If you want. And my instructor went ill and he wasn't there. Next thing, I got this other guy and he's like, come on, let's go. See how you get on. And so, where are you up to? I'm up there. Oh, good. Well, your aircraft then. So I checked it all out. He just sat there. I took off, did some circuits, this, that, and the other. Show me this, show me that, show me the other. And I did. And we'll land. So it landed. He went, do you want to go up again this afternoon? And to be honest, I did know that I got to the point of brain drain. I used to get this and I'd think, I'd learn it. And then once I'd sort of filled up with that day's instruction, the best thing I could do was go home. Because overnight, that would just sink in. The next morning, I'd do it as if I'd done it all my life. I'm like, yeah, just go and do that again. If I'd have carried on in the afternoon, once, because your fucking head's crammed with something new, I'd then start making small glitches that wouldn't go quite right, and I was like, I didn't like that one. I'll do it, and you just try and practice hard and the harder you do. So I was always taught, learn it, do it. If you got it, yeah, fucking quit. That'll do. Wait till tomorrow, and that's what I do. Now with me, I'm like, when's your next up? When you're gone? When you? And then well, we've got a cancellation tomorrow. I'll have that. Really? Yeah, I'll have that. Where these other people are say once a month. Me, I was trying to fly fucking as much as I could, at least once a week, but sometimes more. We just let you know there's a cancellation. Oh, I'll have that, and that's what I did. Anyway, so this guy who I didn't normally fly with said, "I'll see you tomorrow. Then we'll see you in the morning. What time?" I said, "Well, 10:30. We'll do that." Anyway, unbeknownst to me, the other guy felt better, and so I'm walking in as you do. And it's one of those moments. I was walking in, and I'd gone in the control tower. The officer was upstairs. A bang on my shoulder, and as I'm listening, and I could hear them both. I thought, "Oh, he's back in." So the two of them were talking, and he went, "How did you get on with Kurt yesterday?" So I'm just fucking stopped, and I want to fucking listen to this, don't I? Oh, him, fucking, he's a fucking Battle of Britain ace, isn't he? And he went, "Really well." "Oh yes, really, really well." He said, "Rip, done this, that, and the other." He said, yeah. The other guy's like, He went, to be honest, he said, "I think when he comes in," he said, "he should be in shortly." He said, "I think we'll send him solo today." And I'd done just under 10 hours, which is like fucking RAF time. But so it was, I liked that. I was like, fucking man, fucking, that's it. Forget your 45, fucking go on solo about fucking 9 hours. I'll have that. And all I heard was, "Oh, no. He hasn't spent nearly enough money yet." And I just felt shit. That was all about money. Didn't matter how good I was, he was going to keep me in that fucking, because every hour was ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So I was like, right, morning. Oh, hello. Just talk about you. He said, "So should I get in?" This other guy went, my sort of original instructor just went, "No, I'll take him today. That's fine. Come along, get your stuff." So everyone got in, and I'm fucking here. You know what I mean? I'm fucking livid. Okay, we'll do this. We'll do that. Now, there's some other stuff in there, as I said. But I'll read you. I kept a diary during this. I was always told by other pilots, "Kurt, keep a diary. You'll love looking back on it in years to come." And I'm a fucking diary. What am I? Fucking Adrian Mole. It's a reference there, so youngsters won't get. But anyway, and I did though. I did up to a point. But anyway, so this is the day. I've just heard all this. Remember what I just told you in the control tower, and right, it was on the 19th of March, and I've entitled it "Enough is Enough." So I sat in my car afterwards and wrote this. Forecast not great. Wind 24 to 250, 26 knots. It was fairly gusty. Gusting 34. So it was a blustery day. I mean, it was, again, this is one of the days where, "Oh no, it's too windy to I'll fly." And they even knew not to ask me. I just go, "Yeah, I'll fly." Fucking windy conditions. I love it. However, today was the day I could test myself because of the wind and all I've learned. Full pre-flight right through to takeoff. 3 decent circuits and landings with control to keep on target. The instructor, wouldn't mention him, then suggested landing deeper on the second center line marker, because obviously you with the threshold is, you see. So what he's saying is don't land at the beginning of the runway, go in a bit deeper and then land, to avoid the wind shear from the hangar. So if you're coming down the runway, but there's a hangar there, imagine wind. When you go past a fence suddenly and the wind stops, you're like, "Oh, that's all right." As soon as you get past that fence, and you're like that. Well, that's what wind shear is, basically. And that knocks you off the center line. So what he was saying is keep above the hangar and come in steeper. And so you're fighting the wind anyway. So you know where you are. If you know, as you know where that wind is, it's not going to take you by surprise. Makes sense. I did this, And just as I was about to touch down, I always remember this, I couldn't have been more than a foot off the ground. He suddenly says, I have control, and snatched the controls from me. As if I was going to crash. Like, I'll take over, like dual controls, He then said I was flying too deep. And that's like, what you told me to do. It now starts to fall into place. And the reason I'm not progressing is that they want more money out of me before I progress and go solo. Well, enough is enough. I'm going to give this other airport a try. Still, I'm pleased with what I've done. And I literally drove out of there. That's the last time I ever flew there. I drove out of there and I got him to sign my logbook and went to a lay-by, pulled in, went to the Google, and I found this other airport and called them up, said I want to fly. Oh, wonderful. So, yeah, I'm not stopping for anyone. I'm progressing. I want to fucking get in this Mustang. I'm not stopping for anybody. So I left it, just literally left there, never went back. And the next place, though, wasn't just a little airfield. It's an airport. It was an airport. It was just under an hour away from where I live, so 50 minutes away. So it's a longer drive now. But it was under full air traffic control. Whereas before, you just got, so-and-so radio, this is blah, 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 and they just go, nothing in the circuit. And you just poodle out on the grass or on the runway and off you paddle, you know what I mean? This is now, they've got airliners coming in. Literally, they've got airliners coming in. And you have to tell them when you start up at the fucking hangar that you want a taxi. And they'll say, yeah, you can taxi and hold at so-and-so. So you have to go and stop there. Then they'll give you a clearance. Which was a brilliant thing for me, because I'm gone now from most people just at some sleepy airfield. They can only go to some other sleepy airfield because they're not using. I could literally fly in, if I had to, into Heathrow, because I understand how air traffic control, and when they hand you over to radar and whatever, and all this. So brilliant. Again, wonderful. So I'm now back, though, to flying the 161 Warrior Piper aircraft. So low wing, not high wing anymore, low wing, more power and this, that, and the other. In a different environment, different people, this, that, and the other. Anyway, it was a club aircraft, and the guy rented it to the owner. It was the guy that owned it, and he rented it to himself, basically. So the more I flew, the more money he made. And he's like, we've got 6 instructors. You can fly. I said, I just want to fly as much. Whenever the weather's right, call us. There'll be an instructor there for you. Fly around the clock. Do what you want. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, fair enough. I fucking did. So there was a young guy called, I'll tell you, he's called Adam. So Adam and Adam was the same sort of thing, fly whenever. So we decided to fly as many days as we could, but most of the day. So I'd have a lesson in the morning, and Adam sat in the back, the instructor and me, and it's my lesson, but Adam could observe. It's a great way to learn. And in the afternoon, Adam would have his lesson. I'd sit in the back, I'd observe. Brilliant. And so we went up like 2-3 times that week. And we're doing really, really well by this time. We're really progressing, and things are good. And, we're getting a lot of hours in, and that's brilliant now. And I said I should have been solo. I don't give a fuck. It got to, I think I'd done like an hour on the Piper to get used to it, and the lesson, and then went with Adam. So as I said, it's almost like a bonus lesson, because I'm sitting in the back having a free lesson almost, just not flying it, but. And then one day, the instructor, I think I was at 12 hours then. So I'd done like 2 hours with him. There's just me in the aircraft. Adam hadn't come in. And he went, pull over to the side. So I pulled him on the side there. And he said, you all right? I said, yeah. What? He went, right. Off you go. He said, you can go solo. He said, and he just told the tower what we're doing. I was like, what? He went, yeah, you can. Okay. So that's what we did. And that was it. And I'm sat there at the end of the night on my own. And they like everyone always tells you as well, you know, the aircraft, once somebody gets out, literally physically their weight and their being there as a person, and you're on your own, it's a different thing. And that aircraft sprung off the runway, fucking, it's just like a rocket as it felt, you know, and off it went. And I did my circuit. And I've got the photo somewhere, because the one thing I did do, I got the photo of my grandfather out. And I got a photo of me holding that up as I'm climbing out. And I managed to take a photo of that. Yeah, that was good. That was a good time. That was a good time. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I got a photo of him and me on my first climb out. And you know, I think it'd be nice. I think he'd like that. I think he'd have liked that. And then I I did my circuit and I came down and landed, and the tower congratulated me. You know, they do, you know, it's just like, well done, congratulations, nice land and all that. And I just pulled in, and that was that. So that was, you know, so I've then gone solo. So the next thing I've got to do is solo consolidation, which is basically you got to fly on your own, just fucking fly, do circuits and landings. That's what you want. You've got to do. In this time, then Adam's back the next day. I've gone solo, and he said, "Well, do a nav exercise then." So I said, "Okay." So what we were going to do is go from where we were down to another point, down to another point, down to another point, and then back up. And at the time, I was flying up in Lincolnshire, so there's a lot of RAF bases, and it was good. So I did my NavX, and that was fine. Adam, we landed, had lunch, came back. Adam then did his, and I always tell you that one of the biggest mistakes people do is if they're not sure, they think they're lost. They'll almost in your head tricks you. That's the landmark. I think it's got to be. Now we had to fly. Somebody else was on there earlier talking about Strubby and that and Manby, and we had to see Manby and Spilsby, and yeah, basically we had to go Manby. Sorry, Ulsby Cross. Ulsby Cross. Some of you on here will know is class the Eastern Harvesters, and that was one of the. It's a roundabout on a road. It's a roundabout. There's a class dealer, class combines and tractor dealer, and a petrol station. And that was going to be one of the VRPs, visual reference points, and then you shoot off back. So I'm sat in the back like this. Now, the one thing funny enough, as much as I like flying, the one thing I really enjoy is navigation. A lot of people hate it. I fucking love nav. And so we set off on this flight. Now, let me just read some of these quickly, and then I'll tell you the rest. Well, you know, B-17 went down their mum's small farm near Silverstone, killing all the crew. Kids used to find wreckage in the field. Yeah, people do that still. You can still turn stuff over. Where's Lozzie says, fuck all, I let it go. Oh, you didn't get any hours then. You just did your license. And a lot of people do that, mate. Enthusiasm about not having enough money to do ATPL got to me. Does a lot of people, mate. It does a lot of people. Bill, better late than whenever. Frank said, I started marshalling at motorcycling. There's only one day that did not rain. Typical, mate. Rusty says, could fly this September, but not last September. Same with June last year, but not this year. That's how it goes, mate. Cheers, Kiwi. I'll have a look in a minute, mate. How we doing, Chris? Almax says, were you the stunt pilot in Top Gun? No, I wasn't. Tommy said, even Mucker Lake the Pie made it here, mate. Carjacker says, go to Ulster Aviation Society. That sounds an interesting place to be. I'll have to look up, mate. Mark says, UK instrument rating takes 55 hours of flying. The American instrument rating's 15. I know, mate. That's true, isn't it? Frank says, "Where's that brass squash tube of your? What is that brass squash tube of your left shoulder? It's not brass. It's actually stainless. Just the light on it. That is Mr. Saunders' straight pipe. Let me have a look on there. Toll Nutter says, "Can you tell this story in under 45?" No, mate. I'm telling it in real time. Neil says, "I love hearing your exploits. I could listen to you for hours." You've not got a choice on this one. Anyway, so Adam goes up in the afternoon. I'm sat in the back, and I'm following on my own chart and looking just back. Now, this other guy who's our instructor is ex-RAF, has got a ton of hours. Obviously, we're talking the thousands of hours flying and knows his stuff, but he's retirement age and whatever, and this, that, and the other. Not from the area, to be fair to him. He's from further over in the Midlands and whatever. But anyway, we're flying on this lovely clear day, and we're sitting in the back like this. And he was like, "Okay, where are we now?" And was like, I think that's Manby there. Okay. I'm looking, I'm thinking, is that fucking Manby? That's fucking Manby. Just because you're sitting a hangar, that's not Manby. I think that's Strubby. And it just totally ignored me. So I'm fucking all right. So and then he did his turn that he should have done at Manby. And then he said, and you could see he was getting a bit jittery because something's not quite right. He's looking, where are we now? Where are we now? And so I'm starting to look. He went, "Oh, there it is. There's the roundabout. That's Oldsby. That's Oldsby Cross. We got that. Okay, so we should be. I mean, is that we're looking? I think we're looking for Horncastle. We should. I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking that is gotta be. And that's when my head started to play with, so it's got to be, hasn't it? You want it to be. You got to be. You can't be lost, can you? Fuck me, because if it ain't, you're lost. So what? And in my head, I'm going, there's no combines. And there weren't. There was a roundabout with a petrol station and the roads going off, but no combines. But we're in the right sort of area. And it's just like, this is on the A16, which goes north, up the East Coast. And but it has to be. But where are the combines? I always remember that. Where are the combines? And then it clicked, and I looked, and I went, "That's Spilsby." And all the guy said in front was, "Just goes panicking. Just be quiet a minute. Just be quiet." He went, "No, I think we've got it, Adam. I think that's the right. That's all." I said, "That's fucking Spilsby." I said, "That ain't fucking just." He said something. He said, "What did he say now?" Just be quiet. He said, I'm doing what I can. I know what I'm doing in that. I said, "But I'm not the cunt that's lost." I always remember seeing it. And I always remember seeing Adam's shoulders start chuckling, like he just looked at me. He knew everything's all right. And he went, just hang on. I'll see if I can get a fix. I'll see if I can get it like this. And I just went, "You want to fucking hurry up, because we're going to infringe Coningsby's airspace where they got the Typhoons, was where the Battle of Britain Memorial Play are." And he's then like, and I went, "Adam, stick to the fucking right of the ridge." So where Coningsby is, there's a ridge that goes up, what we call uplands, you see, sort of from West Keel round, and then you got the high ground that sort of got up in the Lincolnshire Wolds. And as long as you fly to the right of the ridge, you're fine. You keep out of their airspace. And Adam you could see him just pull across. Just stay where you are. Just keep. And he was fucking really like losing at this point. He's panicking like fuck. And I'm just like, and Adam sort of looked around at me and went like that. And I just went. So he did. And next thing I went, "And there's Horncastle on your nose." And he was like, I think we've got it now. I think we've got it. I think we've got it. I fucking got it. We nearly broke into RAF airspace with 2 Typhoons on us. Anyway. So yeah, but that's how your brain can really just fucking see what it wants you to see. that's a big lesson early on for me. That was a massive lesson. Anyway, we then got to the Easter holidays or something. We've been flying like fuck. We got to the Easter holidays, and I'm wanting to do more because I want to now fly solo in the thing. And so the guy who's flying said, "Look, I'll be honest with you. I've been coming in a lot more than I should have been, but I want to get you through your." I said, "Rich, mate, appreciate." And I did appreciate because he's a lovely old boy, lovely old. He said, "So I want some time off to go and see some old squadron mates and whatever. I want to do my kitchen and whatever." And this, that. And I said, "Mate, whatever. We appreciate it." So he then went, "Good night, Daniel. All the best, mate." He then went, "All the best, Mark. Stay safe, buddy." He then went and did his thing. So I contacted the owner of the aircraft. Said, "Right, all these other 6 instructors." He didn't have it anymore. He had 1 instructor. And he went, "I've noticed anyway." He said, "You're not getting anybody else a chance to fly." I said, "It's online booking. It's online, literally online booking. You just, is there a space? Yeah, in fact, we'll have that." "Well, that's not fair to the others." I said, "What fucking others?" "Well, the other people have been trying to book." I said, "It's not like a fucking call center where they put you on hold." I said, "I go home. What's up tomorrow? Bang, I'll book it." "Well, that's not fair. You're going to have to sort something else out for the time being. Let somebody else have it." It's like, you've got no instructors, basically. So again, I'm thinking, all right, it's been good. I've gone solo. Now I need to fly and get my solo consolidation. So fuck it. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to be held back like everybody else is in the UK. Like, I'll wait then. So I rang another school, even further away, like an hour and 20 minutes away. But anyway, spoke to them and went and saw them. And they were good guys. They were good guys. They owned the school, but not the airfield, but they owned the school. And I started doing some navigation and solo consolidation with them. And so here's a little thing. So when you're flying, when you're on the coming down, what you do is, because your engine's running at a slower, lower speed, it's not generating as much heat, you put carb heat on. And what that does basically is the heat, you've got an exhaust. And if you can imagine a muffler around the exhaust, but not actually part of it, doesn't go through it. It's just like a tube within a tube. So all it gets is the heat, not the smoke. And they generate and divert that heat to around the carburetor. So that, because the thing is, those of you know, like forklifts and stuff, gas forklifts, you know, on a cold day, how it ices up. Well, the last thing you want when you're flying is your fucking carb icing up. So if you're coming in and you're low and you're slow, the engine's not generating a lot of heat. So you pull a switch, and basically this thing, it'll flip this valve, and that lets heat around that shroud to get diverted around the carb. And it just makes sure that any ice melts, because obviously a carb is like a Venturi, so it's getting cold. So as you're approaching, carb heat on, you come down, you're coming down, you land. And before you're about to land, you normally knock your carb heat off in case you've got to have full power to go around. You can open the engine up, it's going to get hot, and that's fine. If once you're down, you'll find that because you've got your carb heat on, it then makes the engine, when you want revs, it just makes the engine very sort of, it's just got no power really, sort of very lackluster and whatever. Again, these are lessons they always told about. You're told you do this and carb heat off, do it, carb heat, do your checks, carb heat. One day, I always remember, I think it was getting towards the summer. It's getting warm, and I'm doing it, and I put my carb heat on, even though say it ice up in the summer. But at the end of the runway was a spud barn, and they were carton spuds right at the end of the runway. And I come in and my carb heat on, done my little touch and go, opened her up, and I just went, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, whole thing's mushy. You know, she just didn't want to climb. It's just like, fucking hell. And that's just like all the horses had gone. And I think, fucking hell. I remember seeing a Case MX-135 at the end of the runway coming across the end. And I'm thinking, I'm going to fucking hit it. I'm not climbing. I fucking carb heat. And I knocked the carb heat on. Next thing, I've fucking woof, gone up like a bloody scalded cat. But it's little things like that. Until it actually happens, you don't realized, just how important these things are. So anyway, that was to say doing that. And I'm doing lots of solo consolidation. I'm planning on then, once I've done enough hours solo consolidation, flying on my own, just make sure I'm good with it. My next thing is I'll start doing navigational exercises, going from not just little ones around it, point A to a long time on my own. I go to the Peak District or something and back and something like that, gone for like an hour and a half. Anyway, the owner of the airfield, I don't know if he still is, he was such a prick. It's like in his 60s, flat cap and a shell suit. Seriously, flat cap and a shell suit. Arrogant twat. Like, he hadn't paid the fuel bill. So he was arguing with the fuel company, even though he owed them. I think it's like he owed like a 10 grand fuel bill and he went to court and it cost him 24 grand. Well, fuck, I'll show that. It's that sort of person. One day, because the two guys that owned the school knew me and they knew how I want to keep. I said, right, when can I book the aircraft? Tomorrow. There's nothing available. Okay. All right, Wednesday. There's nothing available. Thursday? Nothing, mate. And I went, the fuck's going on? Right. He came to us last night and said his friend has got a daughter. She wants to learn to fly, and we've got to give her our instructor and our full attention until she's up to a certain level. I went, what? I said, you own the school? He went, I know. And we said to him, well, in which case then, we're just fucking put her on this every other day then. No, I want her every day. If she wants to be here, she can be here. He said, well, we can't just sit by. Well, they said, it's our school. And he went, yeah, that's my fucking airfield and I'll close it. And you can literally close an airfield if you just sort of, say the fire crew and that you're not coming in, whatever. And that was it. And they said, but what can we do, Kurt? I said, nothing. But I'm going to go. And they went, no, we know that. And they went, listen, we're sorry. And we're sorry. I said, I don't fucking blame you guys at all. He's a prick. Find me another school. They said, we knew you're going to, we've already done. Anyway, they said it's further away. Now I'm now traveling the best part of probably like an hour and fucking 40 minutes now to get to where this other school was. And the school I went to was at Retford, right on the side of the A. Those of you that go up and down the A1, that's where it is, Retford. Gamston, actually Gamston Aerodrome. I think in the war they had Wellingtons there. Anyway, but Gamston Flying School is owned by two of the nicest fucking guys you'll ever come across. It's such that, as I said, you're gone from all these different schools. That is one school I would heartily recommend in the UK. They're fucking brilliant guys. So, told them what happened. They went, okay, well, we got several we got a couple of Cessnas, and as I was there, they were getting more and more aircraft. But got a couple of Cessnas. We've got a couple of, we've got a Warrior 161, which is what I had at the other place before. Yeah, okay. And I guess because the other one I'd just come from, that was a little Cherokee I was flying, a little 140. It's a lovely thing, apart from we got the carpet out. And they said we've got a Piper Arrow, which was like a bigger Warrior, bigger engine, but it was what we call a complex. So what a complex is retractable undercarriage. All these other aircraft, the undercarriage is just there all the while, and the propeller is just a fixed pitch. The harder you rev it, the quicker it goes. That's it. A constant speed prop is almost like having a geared bicycle. You know what I mean? And it's like having a coarser thread. So the coarser thread, one turn, you go a lot further. The nut will go a lot further up the bolt. Where a fine thread, one turn only just goes a little bit up. It's that same sort of principle, but with a retractable undercarriage. So it's a lot quicker as well. But that's next level stuff. You're going to pass your test and get your license to do that. Let's get on there. Chris says, good Oldsby Cross. Max said, got home from ankle surgery. Great to listen to these stories. Perfect medicine. Saw Shop, how you doing, bud? Carjack said the instructor asked my father on his cross country, where are we? My father says Rich Hill. The instructor wants to know. He's so sure. Father said there is a fella down there waving at me. I know. Mark says all good here too, enjoying the stories. Casto, how we doing? Ginger said, Camson, is that the one opposite side the A14, opposite the McDonald's? No, she's on the A1. A1, you got Mark and Moore, haven't you? Where you got the McDonald, you go north. You got McDonald's, a class dealer there as well. Is at Marsh's, I think, isn't it? Or was it Rickaby's? Marsh's is at Ulsby Cross. It might be Rickaby's. So you got a Shell station, McDonald's, and whatever. And this side you got a fucking coffee. You know, not the Costa one, the other one. Starbucks. And then you carry around that bend in that 50 mile an hour. Well, on the 50 mile an hour, if you start looking on the right, you can see across there's the airfield. You got Ollerton. Anyway, I said, right, well, he said, what do you want to fly? So I'll go back to the 161. I'll be flying that. And I always remember it was Tango Delta. Lovely fucking aircraft to fly. I just liked that aircraft. So we started doing more advanced stuff, doing some planning some, routes to go some different places further afield, and this, that, and the other. And so I'm starting to fly Tango Delta fairly hard. And putting a few hours on. I was always, again, fuck it, I'll go have an hour today and go and fly. So I did. Now, the guy that owned that, we're getting down the line a bit, and the guy that owned that, thought this is a really nice money maker. And that was great. I'm flying it. He's getting paid. Everything's great. Now, at this point, don't forget, I've got to do these exams. And fucking books. I think about 11 books. Some that thick, some that literally that thick. And I'm thinking, fuck, and I'm not one, I never have been one for fucking exams. Know stuff, remember stuff, but just try to read that and then and then you got to do that exam, but then you got to do the exam, and then you got to do the next one within so many sittings, and it was just fucking just bollocks. So I just had a little look online, and I found that there was this place in Huddersfield where you'd literally go away and stay for a week. Just go away for a week, stay there, put you in a hotel, and you would study 12 hours a day till your fucking brain exploded. And they would teach you it all, and at the end of it, they'd do an exam. Very good pass rates, this, that, and the other. And we did that. I booked myself on. I thought, fuck, I can't do this book shit. I can't do this book. I'm just going to go there. Because if that's fresh in my mind, I can do it. You know what I mean? But just like, I'll do it in another 3 weeks. I'll pick that up. Some people can. They can go back to a book and go, oh, yeah, I remember that. I can't. There's so much shit going on. My head's like a fucking circus, isn't it? There's all sorts of fucking things going on, and I'm fucking remember that. So I went away for a week. And I stayed up in Huddersfield, lovely place. And we literally got trained and taught 12 hours a day. It was fucking relentless. I mean, I don't think my head has ever gone into a spasm before like that. But anyway, long story short, end of the day, I passed. Here's the thing. I'll tell you a little. Because we were talking about this when I was in Turkey with Mark. Anyway, I remember coming out of the exam and I'd passed. And I thought, I'm going to call Mark. And sorry. It was obviously late at night. So I'd been in the late afternoon in the States. And so called him, Mark, how we doing? Hey, what's going on? And I was like, well, I've done my exams and I've passed all the exams. So onwards and upwards, we're getting nearer. Hey, that's great. That's fantastic. I said, it's been an interesting day. He went, yeah, been interesting here as well. and went on to explain. And he's actually been on podcasts and telling this story. But to briefly, so some of you will have known an aircraft. I'll show you. I might as well just do it. It's pretty easier doing it like this. Called, you see them in aerobatic competitions, everything, called the Pitts Special. So, yeah, it looks sort of like a little biplane, like that. So that's a, you see it on there very well. Turn it that way. That's a Pitts Special, a biplane, stunt plane. You know, really quick, brilliant, lovely. And there's a two-seat version of it called Kristen Eagle, and so it's very, very similar aircraft. Now, Muck, very proficient pilot, P-51B, 24, B-17, Mustang, Spitfire, anything and everything. Now, his brother, Rodney, his younger brother, very, very good pilot. Not to Mark's standard, but a very good pilot. Now, as a formation pilot, when you're flying together, there ain't nobody better. In fact, I think he's better than Mark. Rodney is absolutely phenomenal. I've flown with him, and as I said, most people, you're flying, you see him, you know, and you're there, and you're holding state, and they'll try and keep with you, and that's what happens in, you know, Rodney's like, he much like a fucking steel bar between the pair of you. You're like, how does he do that? He's phenomenal. Phenomenal, right? So Mark told me they had gone and picked up this Kristen Eagle, Pitts. They've had Pitts before, the pair of them. Now, flown all the way back from wherever, bit of luggage, what, you know, and got back home. They climbed up 3,000-4,000 feet and just started having a little bit of a play with their own aerodrome, you know, their own airfield. They're home now. They know there's airspace and everything. And Mark said he thought, right, I'll do a spin. So he'll go like that, and then into a spin. He'll do 2 or 3 turns. He said, and I did a couple of turns. Did my spin recovery, which is basically centralize the stick, opposite rudder, spin stops, and then you pull out, and that's it. Which it didn't. In fact, that went quicker. He's like, okay, well, we'll do it the other way. And that went even quicker. And then she just went in this sort of insipid spin. And obviously this is happening, he said, you know, in seconds. But he said this is going on in hours as such. Do you know what I mean? It's just, and he said he tried everything that he knew, and it just went quicker and quicker. So he thought, all right, I'm going to stop everything. Again, this is milliseconds. And I'm going to basically start again. As if he's putting it back in, powering up, and then going into it. He did that, and it came out. And when I say this, because take it from me, if Mark says it, this is what happened, because I've flown with him enough to know. At their place, they got at the edge of the runway, there's some big old like pine trees, which are 80 feet tall. And Mark said one more spin, and they'd just went straight into him. He says, as we pulled out, he said, we came above the trees. He said, probably 30, 40 feet. He says, we were on the pullout. And yeah, he said, one more, he would have gone in. He said, and the worst thing is, and this is what, that's not that Mark isn't bothered about, if that had been him going in as such. He's not, he said, the bit that he said, to this day, always upsets me isn't the fact, he said, you know, we'd have both, me and his brother, he said, you know, him and Rodney would have gone in. Everyone would have assumed that Rodney was flying, because Mark Murphy could never do that. He wouldn't do that. He's not going to do it. He knows that. Obviously, his brother's flying. His brother's killed his. And he said, and the truth is that just wasn't the case. It's one of those things. He said they got back down, and the next day they got her up, and they got on the stands, and they weighed it. He said, and the center of gravity was so far out, but them two and a little bit of luggage, he said, way out. He said, so they, learned a big lesson with that. They didn't really fly that aircraft much. In fact, I don't think that was there a year or so. I just remember seeing it, but I never see him fly, and I certainly didn't want to go in it. So yeah, I'd passed my exams that day, and I always remember that phone call. I had a really hard day today, Mark. And so did we. And he told me that. I always remember. I'm like, I come off the phone thinking, what? Did he nearly just? I mean, what? When? And that literally was. We've spoke about a lot now since then. But yeah, that's what happened, and that could have happened and ended as quick as that. And that's flying for you. That's just how it goes. So I've now passed. I got all my fucking exams. Other people are sitting their exams doing it normal way. I go back to flying. The guy that owns Tango Delta comes up with this. Just getting greedy. He's just getting greedy. So I'm doing cross countries and stuff now. And I always remember my first big navigation cross country. I was going to fly out to the East Coast, down to Coningsby, speak to it. So yeah, can I talk about Coningsby again? RAF Coningsby, where the Typhoons are, and the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight with the Lancaster Spitfire. They're all based there. So so I take off, fly out over the River Trent, and I'm climbing up. And do you know? I always remember this. I'm flying for the first time. I've been on my own in the circuit, but this has gone away, gone somewhere without an instructor. I've got a 2-3 hour bloody leg round or whatever I'm doing. And I took off, and I thought, seriously, mind went blank. How the fuck do I land this thing? Honestly. But the amount of people, when you talk to other pilots, they went, yeah, I did that. It's just something, it's a human thing. How the fuck do I land this? Seriously. I'm stuck up here, aren't I? And anyway, second too late, you think, fuck, I'll just be fine. So off I went. I did some low approaches on some old airfields I know. Yeah, and then went down to Coningsby, spoke to RAF Coningsby. And that was the other good thing in Lincolnshire. You were always in contact with either Waddington or Coningsby or whatever. So again, for your radio work, because a lot of people, most pilots I know, they'll give you all this. I've been flying for fucking this, and I've got this many hours and that. If you want to come flying with me, boy, you can come flying. I'll give you some experience and all that. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, if you do, I'll do the radio, and then I'll let you fly a bit. And that's like, you don't know. You don't actually know how to do the radio, do you? And they don't. They can get by, but they're not good at it. They're not good at it because they've flown everywhere, literally under the radar. It's what's got 1,500 feet. You don't have to talk to anybody really, and you can buzz around at 1,000, 1,500, just dodge around because you're under the airspace, not in it. And so they can't really go anywhere. They just buzz around low. So I was like, yeah, I'll do radio. We'll go, in which case we'll go across, and they want to fly across to somewhere in Wales and that. I don't fucking give a fuck. Well, I'll let you fly. You fly. I'll do the radio and I'll do the nav. Don't worry about it. And I used to enjoy that. I used to really enjoy that. So anyway, I'm up there talking to Coningsby. As whatever it was, yeah. Right, what Coningsby radar? This is Golf Alpha Victor Tango, whatever, Tango Delta at the time. Quest a basic service, so they'll just get you to squawk and turn it, and they get you on their radar screen then where you are, and they just follow you. This, that, and the other. Or I'm coming in from blah blah blah, and I want to just we're going to be in the vicinity. And they'll just let you know if there's any aircraft, this and that. Well, that day was really bloody busy. So they called me up and said, you've got to be aware there's a Chinook coming from your left-hand side below you, way below. And I could see this fucking Chinook as I'm passing like that. And I said, I have visual on it. Then the next thing I said is, Tango Delta, are you okay for 2 aircraft to formate on you? And I went, yeah, affirmative. I'm okay, yeah. And they said, carry on in your current, heading. And the next thing I know is fucking 2 Tucanos with the RAF turboprop trainers fucking beside me, and one banks over like this, and one pulls over like. and they'd obviously come and used me as a target. And I honestly, I was so tempted to just give it a load and just try and peel. I just thought, no, I'm going to do as I'm told, and just it's brilliant. Watch them. They a couple of 3 times they come at me, and then just not tight. I'm not talking about close, but you could see that, and they'd come past me like that, and I just carried on. And then they both waggled the wings, off they went, and Coningsby said, "Thank you for that. You're clear. Carry on your thing, and switch you over to this other, frequency, and they'll take you from there." And that's what I did. But that was brilliant. That was really nice. Before, when I was back flying earlier on, when I was flying the Cessnas, we're right near RF Scampton where the Red Arrows were. And I remember one day coming in there, it's a hazy day, and we had to keep out of their airspace. There's a railway line. Just as long as you didn't pass over the railway line, you were out of, was it Romeo 313, was it? Or Romeo 33? Anyway, it's what the restricted airspace. And they said, whatever I was, Kilo, I want Kilo Victor, was it? Whatever it was. They said, you've got the Red Arrows approaching you from your right-hand side. Do you have visual? And I looked, I couldn't because it's haze. I couldn't see him. I was only at like 4,000 feet, but I said searching, and I said still no, do not have a visual. Repeat, do not have visual. And I heard then the Red Arrows come on the frequency, just went, we'll give you a bit of smoke. And the next thing from here, I could just see about 4 of them put the smoke on. I said, yeah, roger that, got your visual. And he just went, hey, firm, good day. And poof, they went straight, the whole 9 of them went that way. It was fucking brilliant, just passed right underneath me. I couldn't see him in the haze as soon as they put that smoke on. So, yeah, there we are. So that was where I was getting to. And I was doing really well. Done with me. Let me have a quick look on here. Let's have a look. Mark and Moore, that is right. Mickey, no, a cool guy mows the grass at Gamston, does he? So Mickey on here, Mickey Foster. I used to work with Mickey. Well, so at the same time I'm flying and training, Mickey's boss, my other mate Rob, we were together doing us. We were at the same sort of level, and it got to the point the day I was given my slot to do my actual test to get my pilot's license, I was working away. He went, weather's changed. Kurt, do you want to take this? I went, I'm fucking like in Norfolk. Yeah. And he went, well, Rob might be able. I said, give it to Rob. Rob took that slot, and 2 days later, I did mine, or something like that. So me and Rob passed within a couple of 3 days of each other, and Rob took my slot from the thing. But I didn't know he'd got that. I suppose Mickey, do you nip in the hut for a little with the other two? Yeah. Yeah, Mark and Moore, it's right near there. How we doing, Richard? Tommy says the airfield beside the A17 ain't that where the Red Arrows live, and also Coningsby with the Merlins. So Coningsby's where the Typhoons and the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. The Red Arrows were at Scampton, was the time I'm talking about. They're now at Waddington, aren't they? So what's going on here? Keith says, I can't do books, but practical, always top class. Love listening to this. Max said, start Hamilton Standard. Oh, right. Yeah, Hamilton Standard. Yeah. Props. Pat says, I once dumped the flaps just after takeoff on touch and go. Got on Mikey bollocking. My little Welsh instructor. He was a superb ex-crop sprayer pilot and taught me a lot. Awesome, isn't it? Bill, how we doing? Castro says, I used to enjoy working at the RF bases with the tree lads. Always fun to watch. How we doing, Tracy? Crackerjacks, my father had a Piper Tri. Oh, lovely little things there. Tri-Pacer. Got chased by Wessex. Trump bloody hell. Anyway, so everything's gone well. I'm doing this, and it's fucking lovely, and I'm nearly there, as I said, like with Mickey's. But me and Rob, me and Rob would just be up there. Are you going up to it? Yeah, fuck, it's gone. You know, we would do that. And Rob and I then flew a lot together afterwards. But anyway, Rob, as I remember, he was flying Tango Delta. So if I wasn't, he was. Andy was flying Kilo Victor, if I remember rightly, as well, which is a lovely little Cessna. Both flew that. So the guy that owns the aircraft then thinks, oh, this guy's paying a lot of money and this, that, and the other. You know, rather be satisfied, I get a phone call from John at the flying school. Kurt, got a problem. Thought this was being too good. What is it? He said, the guy that owns Tango Delta says you're flying it a lot, so he wants more money. I'm like, it's bollocks, that is. It's like, I'm flying it a lot, so he'll get more, won't he? Yeah, I know, but what can we do, mate? I said, tell him to fuck himself. And he laughed. He went, no, but obviously you're close to passing now, but we don't obviously want to give him more money. We don't think you should give him more money. I said, no, fuck him. I said, I'll fly one of the Cessnas. They went, really? I said, yeah. I don't give a fuck. Don't worry, I'll fly Kilo Victor or something like that. They went, okay, well, as long as you're... I said, yeah, tell him to fuck off. Stick his aircraft up his arse. It's a nice aircraft, but fuck him and the fucking plane he flew in. John says, I have got one solution, though, but I've got to check this out first. I'll speak to you next week. And I went, oh, all right. What the fuck's he on about? Come Monday, John went, right. We've spoken to the CAA, who are the obviously regulating body. And we asked them if a student pilot can fly a complex. So the Arrow, Yankee Tango, as I told you, constant speed props, you can change the pitch on the prop and the undercarriage goes up. It's called a complex aircraft. That is like doing your lessons in a little Peugeot or whatever, something like that, or a little Ford Fiesta, doing your lessons, everything's good. And somebody says, you can't drive the Fiesta now. Do you want to drive the Focus RS? Honestly, it's like that. And although you could do it, you just technically wouldn't, would you? You know. And to be fair, or rather than just that, to do that, to get complex, normally you'd do your lessons, do your fucking exams on your normal Cessna or your Piper, pass. Once you pass, you then have to do more lessons and an exam as such to fly complex. It's another thing. It's like basically, I tell you what it's more like. It's like getting, although it's the same side, but getting your heavy goods. So it's like learning on a little Fiat Panda or whatever, and then saying, but you're now going to drive a heavy goods lorry. It's a different test. Once you've done your test, you can go on the heavy goods. So he spoke to CAA and they went, well, technically, if you think he can do it, do it. So I'm like, so was that what they said? He went, yeah. I said, so what you're saying? He said, well, if you want to put him through it and do the exam before he's passed and you're happy and you think he's competent, do it. That was it. We don't have a problem with it. That's what we did. So I did like an hour on the Arrow and did all that. And that, to be fair, I then did another couple of hours, I think, just to get really used to it. Because now I'm not just coming in, setting myself up on like the landing and coming down and, oh, nice. I'll put some more power on. I'll go round again. I'm now coming in and I'm checking, right, is my undercarriage down? Right, undercarriage down. Ever got, fine pitch on my prop changes pitch and everything? Yeah. 3 greens. That means all the undercarriage is down and locked. Right. You're down. And then the next thing is when you're taking off, right, we're climbing up, we've got the power on. Right. Undercarriage up. Lights all, it's good. Then we change the pitch on our prop as we're going around. And it's just, it's complex, more complicated. But fuck it. I loved it and I did it. And that was one thing I loved. Anyway, so I'm flying that now. So I'm flying the Arrow. And I'm with like everybody in the school, I'm flying the Arrow. And it's really fucking nice. And everybody else is stuck on fucking wheels stuck down and fucking fitch fixed pitch props. Then the day comes, as I said, Rob, I couldn't get up there. So Rob did his test and Rob passed. I did my test 2-3 days later. Now, this is where it gets difficult. So Tango Delta and whatever Rob passed, and I can't remember. We'd go out of Gamston up to Humberside, the Humber Bridge and whatever. So it's like 10, 15 minutes. You'd do a few exercises and you'd come back, and that's it, because they're flying at around 90 knots. With the Arrow being a lot quicker, I'm flying at like 140, 150. It's a lot quicker. So I'd have been, I'd have been back in about 3 minutes. So then bastards made me fly all the way up to fucking Yorkshire. And I try to think where I went, and then I had to go across to, was it Pocklington or somewhere? I went across, had to find my position. Then I did a diversion. Anyway, coming back, fucking hit snowstorm. Fucking great. And just fucking snow lashing through. And John's like, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good." Is you happy to continue? I'm fucking happy to continue. So there's the fucking Trent. I'm going to drop down below this. Blah, blah, blah. Did my thing. And we did it. So, yeah, I had to go a lot further because I was a lot quicker with that thing. So anyway, I passed. And I came back down, and it was thank you know, and congratulations, all that. And I got on the phone that evening, and I said, "Mark," I said, rang him up in the States. I said, "I passed, got my license." He said, "Hey, that's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Get your ass on a plane, get over here." He said, "We're going to start flying the Mustang." So I think what I'll do is I'll leave it there. So that was all my training. That was all my training I did. And that's, as I said, it was a fucking ball ache. Took me 12 months. Most people take 3 years. I did it in 12 months in the UK through 4 different flying schools, just because I wouldn't stop. And the others just kept, the first 3 just let me down, let me down, let me down. The school on the third one didn't let me down, to be fair. The airfield owner did. But I ended up in the right place. With Gamston Flying School, absolutely fantastic. They still are to this day, and they're good friends of mine. But yeah, that's where we ended up. So the next thing, we'll do one maybe next week or whatever. I'll tell you then when I went to the States and I started flying the more interesting stuff. But here's the best thing. What I told you earlier about, remember, I've got to do it in 45 hours. Fucking Rob was one of them, to be fair. I'm doing it in 45 hours. I've got to do it, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I think I did my actual exam at 52. No, I think I did 7 hours more than 45. So it was 52 hours. I think it was 52. Don't forget, I had to go from do an hour extra when I went from the Cessnas to the Warrior, and I had to do 2 hours more, and I did my complex. So there was 3 hours straight off, and plus I did, and I'd fly in any condition. So everyone passed. We were all sort of passing around the same time. And that's like, right, lads, we're all passed. Are we going to go somewhere next weekend? Why is that? Well, it's looking at, well, they reckon it's going to be fairly gusty. And none of them had flown in adverse conditions. I've been flying it. So my 7 hours extra over my 45, because I was flying in shit conditions. I was like, fuck it, we go. And I did. And that is where it paid off. That is where it paid off. But Rob and I flew a lot together after that. But then Rob went on to be fucking Bender and fly helicopters. And he loves his choppers, to be fair. I'm not a great fan of them. Anyway, that is where we'll leave it. But I'll just read a few more of these. Let's have a look. But the smoke, so red arrows. Yeah, so Bill, like the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels and whatever, they put smoke. So the red arrows, they do red, white, and blue. Obviously, are flag colors, and it's what they do is basically mix dye with diesel. It's literally diesel. And they have a small injector and pipe right at the tailpipe. So when with the heat of the tailpipe on the jet on the Hawk, and that mixing with the atmosphere, it produces smoke, because that's when you get all them, when they do all the stuff, there's all the smoke at the back. That's how they do it. So yeah, they can do it, whatever. That's obviously display. But as I said, I couldn't see them, because I had about 500 feet below me was a layer of haze. It's just enough I couldn't see. And you think about, but if it had been above me, I could have probably seen 9 fucking hawks, red hawks. But down there, I couldn't, especially with the haze. So 4 of them just literally just put a bit of smoke on. Suddenly, I could see 4 lines of smoke. I could see them. That's why they did that. But yeah, the smoke stuff, as I said, all the display teams use that. Especially Red Arrows, as I say, they colour theirs as well. So there we are. Andrew, I'm glad you enjoyed it. All of you. Kelly, good night. Dave, all the best. Bill, Max, Stephen from Hardwick Roundabout. Oh, you're getting a move on, boy. I'll see you Saturday, Stephen. Fucking email me. Anybody else? Like I said, if you are coming to the working event, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put details on the Patreon. So that's patreon.com/Lord Muck. I'll put details on the Patreon in the morning. Let's do a fixed post giving the location, the postcode, times, everything. So I'll just tell you now. But anyway, everybody, by tomorrow, make sure you've emailed me, whether you've spoken to me, called me, messaged me, whatever. Now you've got to actually register as such. So just info at, it's all lowercase, but info at lord-muck.com. Email me there to say, I'm coming and 2 other people, I'm coming and whatever. Just give us some numbers. It is, as I said, near where the A1 and the A14 cross in near Huntington, God, Manchester. I'll give you the postcode and everything on the post on Patreon. We're looking to get there. Those of you that come the night before, whatever, but we're looking to get a start at the farm for about 9:30 in the morning. We'll get some bacon rolls going, cups of tea, coffee, and whatever. If the weather's good, and as it is looking at the moment, the ground's okay, we'll have maybe the Steiger, maybe George's FW or something, whatever, up in another place a few miles away, just a few miles. So what we do, once we're all together, have a cup of tea, sausage roll and a grin, we'll then jump in cars and whatever, and we'll go up to the place where we got to have a bit of a pull down and whatever, the tractors, and see them work, and actually, and we'll do that for however long till everyone's had to go, everyone's bored or whatever. Come back to the yard. We'll look at the other tractors in the yard. There's some grub, burgers, whatever. And then we'll just relax and bullshit. And we'll have a look at some other tractors, have a drive round and just whatever. We'll have some beer, some more burgers, some bit of food and grub and drink. Those of you who need to go, you can go. Those that are staying can stay. Those that want to stay a bit longer, stay a bit longer. And we'll have some beer and whatever, and everything's jobs are good. And the basic thing is, we've got no expectations. We're not expecting anything. We're just going to turn up and do what we do. We've got food, drink, tractors. There we go. All right. But you must, at least by tonight, or tomorrow, but tonight if you can, info at lord-muck.com. And as I said, I'll put all the details on the Patreon, all right, to let you know about that. But thanks ever so much to everybody. Mark's coming along. That's good. Tony, that's good. Don, all the best, mate. Nightlin, all the best. Riley, go and lay down, you twat. Tommy, do you mix black dye with a diesel to get the on? Yes, mate. If I could, I would. Royal New Zealand Air Force, the Black Funk. I don't know. I've never seen them. Kiwi. What do they fly? Jim says, "I'll see you Saturday." Good old boy. I've got to get. Yes, well, that's right. To be fair, Kiwi, it's exactly right. I want to know numbers because I want to know. I'm not just going to go and buy fucking carpet burgers and fucking pig sticks. There'll be our local butchers, sausages and burgers and stuff. We ain't doing shit. It'll be all right. So yes, I shall speak to you later. See you later on, Lisa. Don't forget, all of you, email in there, please. And yes, we'll look next week's. We'll carry on. But there we are. info@lord-muck.com. Email me, you bastards. Let me know how many of you are coming. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was actually quite good. I enjoyed it myself. I forgot a lot of stuff and remembered a lot of stuff. But we'll do part 2 probably sometime next week. Do well.